All right. Welcome, board. It's great to see everybody tonight. Everybody is having a great month and looking forward to Thanksgiving this week and exciting to sit with a new board. So welcome. Welcome to our public tonight, some of whom are friends and family who've come to celebrate with a number of your family members here as they are sworn into office. So we are going to begin tonight, even before our prayer for guidance, we begin with our oath for office for new board members as well as existing, so it's for all of us. And we've got Justin Roebuck here from the county. We appreciate that. Justin's got a busy schedule, but he makes time for this, and we appreciate it each time. So he always clarifies, I'm not swearing at you, I'm swearing you in. So he may be behind our backs, but not to our faces. So, Justin, tonight I think what I'd like you to do is take the officers one at a time, and then we'll have the trustees together. If there's anyone, when your family member or friend is being sworn in, if you want to come forward and just stand, because Justin's going to be positioned here, and they'll be positioned here, you can come and take a picture. And certainly when they're done with the swearing in, you can also take a couple of pictures before they sit down. So if you want to jump in a picture with them, we've got time for that, okay? So at first, it'll just be Justin and whoever's being sworn in. So, Justin?
Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'm honored to be here. It's, there's a lot of different roles in this work, and this is one of the fun things that we get to do. So we're going to start first with our supervisor, and then we're just going to kind of go right on through if that works for you.
So I've taken my mic off. I'm thinking people
take it off. To take mine off? Okay. All right. I'm going to just have you respond in an affirmative after this, if that's okay. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of Georgetown Charter Township Supervisor in and for the Charter Township of Georgetown, County of Ottawa, and State of Michigan according to the best of your ability?
I do.
So congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to get your autograph on this. Oh, thanks.
Sheila has taken a picture before, so I have no friends.
All right, next we have our clerk. This is always cool from one clerk to another. I'm excited about this. All right. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of Georgetown Charter Township Clerk in and for the Charter Township of Georgetown, County of Ottawa, and State of Michigan, according to the best of your ability?
I do.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Get your signature there.
Would any family members want to take a picture right now while Kelly's got the stage here? Don't be shy. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, great. Thank you.
That's awesome. Do you want me in the picture? I want a picture with Kelly. But maybe you could do one with the fam. All right.
Nice.
Thanks for letting me cut in on your picture. All right, we're going to do this. Thank you, guys. All right, our treasurer.
John, quit photobombing.
Sorry, Gene. Good to see you, sir. All right. Raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of Georgetown Charter Township Treasurer in and for the Charter Township of Georgetown, County of Ottawa, State of Michigan, according to the best of your ability?
I do.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. And get your autograph there. If go home and tell my kids I did a lot of swearing, so.
I don't think you're ever too old to have your son maybe come up for a picture. No, I see Chief. Anybody wish to? Anybody?
That's right.
Yeah.
Come on. Thank you, sir.
I have a family.
All right.
All here. Holy cow.
Yeah.
All right, stop there. My wife had her pajamas on already when I got home for supper.
That's great.
All right, can I get in one?
Yep.
It's like one without the weird guy, and then one with.
Family.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right, and now I think we are going to do the trustees as a group.
As a group?
Is that right?
If that's all right, and then if you want individual pictures, that's great.
I make sure it's clear.
Amy, Kevin, John, and Gary, right? Okay. You gotta get a picture of just that.
Yeah, the same way. Jurgens had a sale.
All right, if you raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of Georgetown Township Trustee in and for the Charter Township of Georgetown, County of Ottawa, and State of Michigan, according to the best of your ability? I do. Awesome. Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Sorry.
Yeah, all right. All right.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'd like to have a picture of Justin with the four of you. And then individually, if you've got family members or friends here, let's have all those who do have an individual shot then with them.
That was great. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thanks for letting me get my picture with you. That's nice. Do this.
Why not? All right. Individual shots with family, friends.
My wife's watching Wheel of Fortune.
Great. Now's the time. By the way, board members, after the meeting, before service, for those who are going to services, our lovely photographer is going to take headshots of each of us, probably up against the white wall over there someplace, right? So, thank you for staying around. Appreciate that. Okay, great. Wonderful. All right. At this time, then, we're going to open our first meeting of the new board with prayer. Lord knows we need wisdom. So, God, we thank you for the idea of freedom and self-governance. And in our imperfect human systems here, we thank you that you work through us, in us, to do what is good and right and just. I pray that you give us help, wisdom, humility to consider the things that will come before us, how we can be of help and service to our fellow residents, and honor this place that we call home. We need that wisdom. We pray for all those that serve so faithfully here in the township. Pray this would be a blessed 4 years for each of them as well. Because as they are blessed to do what they do, all of us as residents are the ones who benefit. So grateful. Trust in you in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, at this time, you'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. This is Becky for the first time right there. Because I was just say, and this is I love Becky, but she was always off on the cadence of the Pledge of Allegiance. She was ahead. Was it ahead or behind? It was always a little bit ahead. Ahead. Yeah. So anyway, that was just perfect unison. At this point, it's always been a tradition of ours with the seating of a new board that one of our new board members would sing the first verse of the township anthem. And so Kevin Kelly tonight. Kevin? I'll pass. Okay. You're not quite ready? We'll defer till the next meeting. All right, roll call, and that honor goes to the clerk.
Okay.
So it's up to you how you want to do your style. If you want to look about and say all present, if you want to have people reply as here, it's each one's style. So totally up to you.
I'll do a roll call for the first
Very good.
meeting, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Schwam.
Here.
Treasurer DeWitt.
Here.
Clerk is present. Mr. Supervisor.
I am present.
Ms. Strassman. Here. Mr. Belting.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
All present.
All right, great. Well, you've got your first agenda for the new term there, and you've all had it now for a week and a chance to do your homework and the like. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll move. Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Not very often will we hear, and those, by the way, those who came for friends and loved ones and so on, you don't have to stay, and no one's going to think you're rude for leaving. So you do what you got to do, okay? But so far as amendments of agenda go, we don't do it too often. I'd like to amend tonight's agenda just to insert after, because we kind of breeze through these next couple of items. We'll make this item 9A if you're willing, but that would be just initial supervisor comments on the beginning of the new term. So can I get I'm going to move to amend the agenda to add a 9A, just some initial comments from me. Can I get a second?
I'll support that. Support.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. It's carried, and now the agenda is approved as amended. Okay. Item number 7, communication letters and reports received for information. So we kind of breezed through this part of the meeting, but those who are new, it's anything but a breeze in terms of your homework. There's often things to be read there. Investment reports, your fire department reports. We'll get reports from Sergeant. We'll get reports from, just various committees. We'll get letters that are necessary to be included in the agenda. And so we expect that all board members have read those items. They're not meant to be acted upon, but that you be familiar with those. And certainly if you ever saw something in one of those communications and you wanted during the end of a meeting under what we call just board business or other business to address something or to discuss it, you're more than welcome to do so. Okay, that was item number 7. I misspoke earlier. Bear with me. I said 9A. I should have said 7A. Can we all deem that amended for comments? Okay. I wanted to make sure that we, before we began the public comments and the substance of the agenda, that I could make a few remarks. And I've never really done this, but I was thinking about it. I'd like to step out there because it's a little bit odd to sit here in the half round facing that way when these are specifically just some comments I wanted to make to you as a board. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay.
State your name and address, please.
Okay. All right.
Start the clock.
Wieringa. Can I do that? Just one word? McCloskey, right? Wieringa. We should all know who we're talking about. Bloodshot. All right. Thank you. I appreciate just a chance to address you as a board. First of all, a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when I first came on the board was the way in which this is set up here in the half-round style. Because really what we're having here tonight is a board meeting of the Township Board, right, a Board of Trustees and officers. And the public is here observing our meeting. So in the normal sense, you would think of maybe a rectangular design where you've got people on both sides and maybe someone on each end. But we instead face this way, often talking kind of out of the periphery, right, or turning toward one another or turning back and forth to each other. It's a little bit awkward at times that way. But as time has gone on, I've kind of embraced it because it's also, I think, a physical reminder of the fact that we are frontward facing toward the public, our residents, and that's where our chief loyalty and duty resides. And so I've acclimated to that, but it still makes it hard when we're having a discussion like I'm trying to right now to sit next to you and not be able to see all of your faces. I jotted down some notes while my son was at wrestling practice today, so I'll refer down to just a couple of headers here that I wanted to bring up. The next thing was just to say thank you to each of you for running, some of you for re-election, others of you for the first time. It's not a fun or easy thing to do, win or lose, and it takes time. Put yourself out there, subject yourself to criticism. Especially in this day and age, it's real easy to criticize those in public office. And so for you to offer your skills and talents to the township is greatly appreciated. And one of the things I discovered about each of you in the process of this election was you had to at times provide me with a bio. And so I learned a lot about you and the things that you either have done or are doing. And it's a pretty amazing, diverse skill set and talent set that you guys possess. You come from all backgrounds. We've got education, we've got fire and others, we've got engineering, surveying and the like, we've got small business owners here. Your family owns a business, Amy, and you're very involved in the senior center, and Gary runs a business, and Kevin's got a business. We're all immersed in a lot of other things. There's a lot of other things you could have been doing with your time. And you've chosen to give some of that time for the next 4 years to the township, which is greatly appreciated. What I like about this group in particular is you aren't just now deciding to give some of your time to the township. As I looked at your resumes, all of you have been giving time to the township for years in different capacities. This is just a new way to do so. But none of you is brand new to the idea of serving your fellow residents in one shape or form. So I think that's really exceptional. About this particular board, each board has its uniqueness, and I think that is one of the things that makes you all stand out is your diversity of background, your skill set, and then your willingness. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a cough. I'm going to need some water. So thank you. And I jotted down here just to remind you and to remind the public, you're just residents. We're just residents. We sit there, we got a little nameplate in front of us. There's not a lot of trinkets and things that go with it, quite honestly, but still, you could say, hey, I've got some power, I've got a vote, which is true. You hold a vote on certain matters that will come before this board. But at the end of the day, we know that we're serving residents. We are residents serving residents. So the fact that we sit up there and others sit out here or elsewhere in the community, we're all residents, right? And at some point, you'll return to being a resident, not a member of the board, and you may be sitting out here and addressing the next board, right? And so we're taking our turn, and you doing so is appreciated. I'm going to say to those who are new, you're going to learn a lot of cool stuff. When you've got a township of 55,000 people, and I say this for the benefit of those here, you all know this, but about the 7th largest township in the state of Michigan, the largest on the west side of Michigan. Most of the other ones larger are in the Detroit area. 3 or 4 times larger than Hudsonville, 3 times larger than Granville, the size of Kentwood, much larger than Howland, much larger than Grand Haven. Places that I think, frankly, get probably more press, more attention. They've got certain reasons for that, whether it be the lake shore or business or who knows what. But Georgetown is large. And we've got a staff that is second to none, very capable, a lot of them long-term. You guys know many of them. Even if you haven't been on the board yet, you probably know many of those that serve. Some are here tonight, and some here tonight represent others that are not here. But when you think about it, there's a lot that goes into running a 55,000 resident township. We've got a lot of square miles. And one of the things I thought was really great the first time I was elected to the board was what you have to learn. Part of what makes the job fun is not knowing stuff. So I don't know, you could all share your own stories. I remember climbing the inside of a water tower all the way to the top, which is an experience in the dark. And with the little thing, you got to keep clicking to the next, rung up. Imagine the people that have to get in those and dive around inside that water to make repairs and things. Doesn't happen too often, but it's fascinating. I've been up on one of your hook and ladder trucks. Gary knows a lot about holes, and Joel, of course, digs them. I've been down inside some of the deep holes. I've been to a lift station to see how that operates. I've been to people's houses when it doesn't operate and seen the effects of it, right? There are things you learn that go into it where your mind blows. This is a lot of fun. There's a lot to know. And part of the fun that you'll have, and those of you who've been on the board, part of the fun you'll continue to have, is asking some of those that work with us full time, what do you do, and can I come watch you, or can you tell me more about it? Can I come to one of your meetings or come out to where you work and ask questions? So take advantage of that. It's a lot of fun to get to know what it takes to run a township this size. Meetings, as you all are familiar, we send out agendas, and those agendas often have links, and there's often a lot that goes to the items that reach the agenda. They have to percolate through one of our main committees to the board, and so by that time, often they've been vetted and looked at and maybe modified, and they eventually reach this agenda that you have in front of you. And it's expected that when we come to these meetings as board members that we're prepared. So this is not the place to do your homework. This is the place to demonstrate you've done your homework, right? Now, in saying that, I don't want to discourage any of us from discussion, right? I don't want to ask that. I probably should know that. No, ask, all right? If I know, and I know all of you personally, you're giving your good faith effort. None of you is a slacker, so I'm not worried about, they're not going to do your work. But do your work, right? I mean, make sure we do our work and then come here to discuss, because as we all know, we can't have a quorum outside of a setting such as this. It's a public body. So necessarily there's going to be deliberation in this body, and there ought to be. But let's not have it be about things that could be known by good homework. And by that, it might just be your own investigation. It might be talking to one of these guys over here, our manager or assistant manager. It might be talking to one of our department heads. They're available to you, right, just as we are to them. And so by the time you come, it won't be unusual to have a fair number of unanimous votes, or 6-1. Okay, 5-2 is less often. 4-3 is pretty rare, but it does happen from time to time. Well, is that because we are all just lockstep? No. Oftentimes, by the time an issue has risen to this level and had to be vetted through a committee, it probably has some pretty good rationale behind it. Not necessarily, but oftentimes, right? And so often you will see broad support for issues that will come before you these next 4 years, because the best ideas tend to make it to this place, all right? Our committees that we serve on, I think, get deeper into the nitty-gritty, and things that maybe don't have the support that would rise to the level of coming to our agenda here at a board meeting are killed off sometimes at that level, or dealt with and don't require board approval or board action. So I say all that to say that the length of a meeting is not the measure of its importance. So the fact that we aren't here till 11 at night doesn't mean somehow that we're working less hard. In fact, if we are having meetings that long and there's not something really major going on, and I'm doing something wrong, okay? As a rule, the meetings of these boards will probably be relatively short, meeting-wise, okay, an hour or less. But if they take 2 or 3, so be it, all right? This is our night we've set aside. All of us have set this aside as board members, and we've got nowhere else to go afterward because we've committed ourselves to these evenings. But again, meetings for meeting's sake, length of meetings for looking like you're working harder. There'll be no window dressing really needed that way. Other thoughts? Again, I don't think this really is necessary to say so much to this board, but don't try to make a name for yourself. Quite honestly, None of us really will, except for potentially a bad reason. If you've been around on the board long enough, you know that the less probably your name is out there in print, probably the better we're doing. I've disabused myself of the notion long ago that people know who I am, and I don't know that any of us here really cares so much whether we are known in the community, except to the degree that people need to reach out and connect with us. Yes, our cell phone numbers, our email address and things of that nature we'll put out there as we do historically, because we want people to be able to connect and interface with us. But in terms of people knowing your name and all, I think the better you're doing, probably the less they will. That's just the reality, right? Important to say, I believe, I want a board these next 4 years, and I think we all do, that is a unified board. Serving on a board that is unified is a lot more fun and enjoyable, often more productive, and you can't always control how things will roll, but as much as it's within each of our power, I'd like to see us be respectful, fervent, passionate, but with respect toward one another, and that we remain unified as a board throughout these 4 years. Unity, and I've said it before, doesn't mean unanimity. My pastor would often say about marriages, if the husband and wife are exactly the same and one of you is not necessary, right? If we were all the same, then probably 6 of us are not necessary. So we're going to have different perspectives. That goes back to what I said about your abilities and your strengths and your gifts and your talents. You're going to bring an angle to this that I don't, or someone else on the board does not, and that's going to help the township as a whole as we can see these issues through with more, with more insight and depth of wisdom. So we're going to disagree. I hope we do. It's a sign of a healthy board. We're going to disagree. You need to feel free to disagree, and especially I speak to those who are new. It's natural to feel when you're new on a committee, well, I'm new, I ought to just be quiet for a while. You're a full-fledged member from day one. You receive votes just like we did. There's nothing magical about those who've been on there previously. And in fact, I think you add a new dimension that you're going to see things in a way that maybe being on the board for a while, you don't see it. You don't see it, right? So, Gene, you brought something up with me the other day. I'm thinking, never really thought about that. That's going to happen, and it's going to be good. But again, unity, important, all right? Unanimity, not what we're looking for. So please, voice your disagreement. State your case. We may have, I suspect, even tonight, something of which we may disagree, and that's healthy. So feel free. And on that subject of the agendas, you'll see as we started tonight, we'll always have the Pledge of Allegiance. We just believe that's important. We'll always have a prayer. And some people find that maybe strange. It certainly isn't. When you think historically, our Congress has had a chaplain since the beginning, and they have saw fit to open their sessions, or at least their Congress, every 2 years, if not more often. The Senate would also have a chaplain that would open in prayer and ask for wisdom from Almighty God. The presidents in the past all have done the very same thing, have gone much further than that, declaring days of fasting and prayer and so on and so forth. It's only really, I think, in an increasingly more secular age in which we live that it seems maybe a little incongruous, or, hey, can we do that? Are we allowed to do that? We're certainly keeping in the tradition and the history of the U.S., and if you're a legal nerd, you also know that more recently, Bournemouth versus City of Jackson, 2018, Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals addressed this very subject with commissioners in the City of Jackson in Michigan who were opening their meetings with voluntary prayer. And it was taken all the way to Sixth Circuit and then appealed to the Supreme Court, who denied what they call cert, didn't take it up. So that is the law. It's remained the law. And we take advantage of that law because we believe it important to ask for wisdom. We know that, again, back to the idea that we're just residents with our different skill sets. We need wisdom to do a good job, and we pray for God's protection and wisdom in that. If any of you, speaking of which, if any of you wants to join sort of the prayer cycle that we go through, every one of you as a member is more than encouraged to just let Justin or Rob know, and we'll put you in the cycle. Okay? I'm about done here. See if I've got anything else. I guess this would be the last thing I'd say. Something my wife said to me during my first term, we had a couple of pretty contentious issues. One of them was sewage in the basement. You remember that, John?
Yeah.
Of many homes. You were in one of those homes. I was in one or more of those homes. It ain't pretty. And there's one thing as a resident you expect is things like delivery of water and sewer and things of that nature. Now, I could go into the details about why it wasn't necessarily our fault, and you can point to nature, and you can point to backflow preventers and all the rest. But the point is, and in those moments, people don't want to hear a lot of excuses. They want to hear empathy, and they want to be heard. And we also had, if you remember, all the way back, we had the ball diamond issue with Family Fair and the Little League Diamonds back at 28th and Baldwin years ago. We had one meeting where we had 750 people, and we filled that church next door. People care about their community. Not many will show up in these meetings. That's why we can sit in this room routinely. There's more tonight, frankly, than there will be probably typically. But that's in part not because they don't care, but because they entrust all of you and I to the business of the township. They have busy lives. They've got kids. They've got their jobs. A lot of them are just trying to make it, right? We all know the pace that we keep. And so they're not always taking the time to attend the meeting or even watch the ones that are online. And they're trusting you and I to do their business. But when they take the time to come and to address the board like this, it means they really took an effort, right, out of their daily life. And my wife had to remind me to say, you know what, Jim, in this day and age, people don't feel like they can affect our federal government at all. It's a behemoth. It's too large. It's more than $36 trillion in debt. Who am I, right? I can't get an audience with my representative, let alone affect change. It's often easy to feel that way with our state government. It doesn't mean we don't try to affect change. It doesn't mean we don't write and call and do all those things. But honestly, you feel like one voice among many, many voices at the state level as well. But doggone it, that's how she put it, doggone it, Jim, people want to have a say in what happens in their backyard. And you need to listen. And you need to listen respectfully, even if you disagree, or listen openly in case you may decide to change your view. But they've taken the time. They may not understand the issue like you or I do. And it might be easy to think, well, if you knew this, you wouldn't have that perspective. And maybe you'll have a chance to speak with that individual, enlighten them, and they may enlighten you, right? But in this setting, we just all need to remind ourselves that we serve the residents. They have a bit of a feudal feeling with some of our higher up governmental levels, but here they really want to have a say in what goes on in local government. And so let's make sure we give them that open forum, and that audience, and that listening ear, and that care and concern for them. So, and finally, I would say let's have some fun this quarter, or this term, I should say. There's no rule about the fact that even though these are serious issues and serious meetings, that we are, again, back to we're normal people. And some of you are pretty funny. Some of you don't mean to be funny, but you are. And, it's okay to have a good time together and to joke. It's okay to, Gary takes Kevin to lunch, or I see, Kelly out, having lunch with a couple. It's okay to be real human beings. I think we obviously respect the line between the public meeting and the non-public meeting, right? And we always have, and we always will respect that, and I know you all respect that. But sometimes that feeling can project such a stilted feeling among us that you almost feel like, can I talk to that person? Can I call them? And the answer is yes. You can, and in fact, I hope that you would, and I hope that you would get to know one another's wives or husbands, and that at some point, maybe not too often, because again, we have busy lives, but that you would connect with each other outside of meetings so that there's good collegiality, so that when we do have meetings and we're doing township business, there's better rapport and better success. That's all I got. Appreciate you listening. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep.
Okay. If you'll pay, Gene, you can take us out to dinner.
Yeah, sure.
What's that?
Very well.
Okay. Item 8 on our agenda tonight, public comments for action items remaining on the agenda. I won't always repeat this because I don't want to be repetitive, but for this first meeting, it's good to remind both the board and those that are here tonight, we have 2 public comment periods. One's at the beginning, before the action items, right now. The other is at the end to speak to anything you want. Could be something we just took up on the action items, could be something entirely different that's just on your mind and you want to get it off your mind. So that type of comment is best left for the end. The other comments that address action items are now for the beginning. You'll see that we have a 3-minute clock. I think that's become somewhat customary. It's not a hard and fast law, but it's one that we have followed customarily. I think the county does the same. And so it just makes sure that we're concise in our comments. And if there's more to be said, as I said earlier, we've got email addresses. We're around, before and after meetings, and more can be said that way. But so at this point in time, we're going to open it to the first public comment period for action items remaining. And when you come forward, one of the jokes that was made earlier was identify name and address. If you could identify your name and the street you live on, we appreciate that. And the floor is yours. Marcia, you'll have an opportunity toward the last, since your agenda item was moved to January, I believe, you'll have an opportunity after the action items, but we'll welcome that, okay? All right. Okay. Anyone for the action items? I see our 12th Avenue representative.
Now, for the new members that don't know me, I live on 12th Avenue. My name is Robert Dunn. And I started a petition this spring with our residents on our street to get our road paved. And went through the process of gotten names and got a majority of the people to agree to the prices that were given. And hopefully they'll stay there or come in lower. We don't know yet. So anyway, I want to thank the board for working with us and the 2 gentlemen over here working with me, helping me along and what to do and how to do this process. So hopefully we'll get it done tonight. This should be the last meeting, I'm told. So. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings. Sean Half, Winnipeg Street. Just very briefly, I would encourage the board here to vote in favor of the Campbell Plant resolution. Thank you.
Parnell McCarter, 6408 Rinwood, Georgetown, volunteer leader of the SaveTheCampbell.com effort. The Michigan Public Service Commission, which currently regulates consumers' energy, is an unrealistic electric energy path. It is a path that seeks rapid closure of fossil fuel plants in the state. Ottawa County's Campbell is thus on the chopping block for 2025 closure and demolition, as you know. I want to thank this board profusely, and congratulations to the new board, along with Jamestown Board for taking a leading role in calling upon all stakeholders to prevent what otherwise is a likely train wreck. The resolution you have prepared and proposed is a model for all the boards in Ottawa County. State Senator Victory and Representatives Meerman and Slough have all stated Campbell should not be closed in 2025, and huge numbers of county residents have let the Save the Campbell effort know they agree. In the recent elections, voters voiced their desire for a more realistic energy policy. The first handout I have given you shows that if Michigan continues its current plan of rapid net zero emissions, it could lose reliable electricity, with a federal regulator and regional electric grid operator MISO warning of substantial energy losses that could come within 8 years. Net zero energy plans in multiple states throughout the Great Lakes region are moving residents and businesses towards a cascading power loss, wherein states seek to buy energy from neighboring states only to find those states have nothing to sell. This is according to a study from the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, as well as grid operator MISO. The second handout explains how the campaign to rapidly close fossil fuel plants has incorrectly stated the risk of atmospheric carbon dioxide. The alarmist models have consistently been wrong over the last several decades. But even if one subscribes to CO2 alarmism, there needs to be more pursuit of carbon sequestration option rather than the more radical step of rapid closure of fossil fuel plants. The third handout shows how Michigan law allows for delay of plant closures if they endanger the electric grid. Ottawa County has many legal tools to slow down the closure and demolition of the Campbell if we simply have the will to utilize those tools. The legal options extend to the county even being able to gain full control of county electric, like 3 cities in Ottawa County already have. And there are many legal options short of that. It makes no sense for West Michigan's Campbell to close soon, whereas East Michigan's far more polluting Monroe plant gets to remain open until 2032. Thank you again for your leadership. We need the Campbell to keep providing reliable, affordable electric for 1 million regional residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barry Coley, 939 Rushmore Street. Regarding the resolution on closing the Campbell, I'm in support of closing the Campbell, and I'd just like to state something that was in M Live last week regarding that. Michigan's second largest electric utility says it won't need to add an extra charge to current bills to comply with the state's new, more aggressive targets for accelerating reliance on renewable energy. Consumers Energy, in a November 15 regulatory filing, estimated new requirements that will compel the utility to source more than half its power from renewable resources like wind and solar will actually mean $304 million in savings by 2045. In supporting the Campbell and trying to keep it open, you're supporting a dying industry, coal. Coal's been going down for years and years, and there's reasons for that. Cost and pollution. And according to, again, what consumers said in their regulatory filing, it's actually going to save money if we move away from it. So I'm against keeping the Campbell open. Thank you.
Hey, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the initial public comment period. Go to item 9 on tonight's agenda, called the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved. Support.
Okay, again, for the benefit of the whole board, and especially those that are new, you'll see the minutes of the various committee meetings that will come here, planning commission meetings, zoning board of appeals meetings, bills, and various things that will come. And so, rest assured, we appreciate your eyes on these, especially if you sat on one of those committees or commissions and you saw a mistake. It's good to catch it, hopefully, before it becomes approved here. And we do have, treasurer and clerk that will go through bills. And, of course, we've got Christy Hackney, and we've got Justin, and we've got Rob. And there's a lot of redundancy in terms of looking over where the dollars go. But you're part of that, right? So you look at it as well. And feel free to raise. This might be one of those where you see the agenda come out on a Monday, you look at it and you're thinking, okay, I don't understand that. That's probably the type of thing that will breed questions that precede a meeting, because there just may be clarification things. But if that doesn't answer your question, then this is a forum in which you could bring it up. So, any discussion about our consent agenda tonight? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is passed. All right, item 10, public hearings. This is the second public hearing on the special assessment rule for the special assessment district for the paving of 12th Avenue, which was spoken to earlier by this gentleman. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? So moved.
Support.
All right, all in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so the hearing is open. This is a time when those who are here tonight who wish to address the subject of the paving of 12th Avenue may do so. All right, seeing none, and that's not a big surprise. This is, I think, the 4th time maybe this has come up, and so I think those who wanted to speak have spoken to it by now. So is there a motion to close the public hearing? So moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The public hearing is closed. Now it comes to the board to make a resolution to pave Jackson Street from 12th Avenue to the end of the road. Is there a motion to adopt that resolution?
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported. Now that is before the board for discussion. Should say further discussion, as there has been a good deal of discussion in the past. I'm sure we're all aware of, I guess, what section we're talking about here. I think people have been fond of saying this is one of 3 roads that is unpaved in the township. I think that's true until someone shows differently. If you've driven down it, yeah, you probably wouldn't love it. I think our car washes in the area probably do love it. But yeah, they stepped up and took some initiative and are raising funds to meet the township halfway. So thoughts about that? Any further thoughts or questions or criticisms or comments?
It's needed. They've been very patient. They're paying half of the cost, and they've been very, very professional as they've come before us. They need this road.
We should have paved roads, yes, I agree.
For a little bit of context, most roads, which are through roads, this is not a through road, were paved over the years, right? If they're subdivisions, they're paved by the developer. If they're main roads and so on, they've been the county and then us in redoing the subdivisions. So they are showing skin in the game in a way that most residents don't have to, but because of the nature of where they are and because it doesn't lead to anywhere, they're not less than, as I think one of you said previously. They matter, and you matter as residents in the township. But I think you got our attention with your willingness to participate. And I would say maybe that would work with the other 2 roads that remain as well. But I think it's a sign of good faith by the neighbors.
The residents love where they live.
Yeah. Yep. Anyone? I know you've had your say in the past. All right.
Yep.
This is a resolution, so it requires a roll call vote. I'll turn to our clerk.
All right. Mr. Schwam.
Yes.
Treasurer DeWitt.
Yes.
Clerk is a yes. Mr. Supervisor.
Yes.
Mrs. Grassman.
Yes.
Mr. Veldink.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
All in favor.
Okay, great. I know that it was provided to you, but just for the record here, I believe it's $230,000 is the matching funds, if I'm not mistaken. In case people are wondering, on the match? Mm-hmm. No, strike that. I'm thinking of this. Yep. I'm thinking of this. Yep. All right. Sorry. Well, that's a later agenda item. All right. Don't trust my memory. Item 11, the first step now in what you just approved is to have reconstruction plans designed and engineered. Kelly knows a thing or two about that. Is there a motion to approve the estimated cost of $50,000 from the Ottawa County Road Commission to develop those reconstruction plans for the paving of 12th Avenue?
I'll move. Support.
Right. Any discussion? Where do you start, right, Kelly?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it carries. So item 12 is what you heard a couple of gentlemen speak here during public comments, the Campbell Coal Plant Resolution. I expect there to be discussion and debate on this subject. It's got to be placed before us by way of a motion for that to be proper. So why don't we make a motion, place it before the board, and if it turns a different direction, then that motion can always be amended.
So move.
That motion would be to what? To approve?
To approve the Campbell Coal Plant Resolution.
All right.
And support.
Okay. It's on the table before us. I'm not going to editorialize nearly as much except for an initial meeting, but I'll just say we don't very often get asked to issue resolutions. We also very rarely will initiate our own resolutions. It has happened from time to time, and it really has depended on what issue it was and how important the board felt about it. So in this case, as you heard Mr. McCarter, this is one that he has organized and led and has brought to the township and brought it first to the Utilities Committee, and that's how it's made its way to the board. So the floor is open.
So one of the reasons why I backed this resolution is I don't think that there is enough replacement in place to get rid of the coal plant. They can say that we're going to, that doesn't keep the lights on. At one time, I think Parnell can correct me, was going to close in 2030, correct? And they've moved it up to 2025?
2040, I think.
2040.
Yeah.
So they moved it up, and I'm not saying maybe in 2040 it may be dismantled, but I do believe it's too soon. I don't believe that they have enough renewable energy in place to take care of this. And to be honest with you, I do not believe renewable energy will replace anything. Because I experience renewable energy. I have a place that's run totally on solar. And I closed it down Saturday because there's not enough sun. This month, you would be very cold in your house if you had to rely on solar. So, I just think that they need to slow this thing down of dismantling it, and they need to have a better plan in place than saying this is what we're going to do in the future. I don't want to be cold. I like lights. I like electricity. That's just my opinion. So, and I've done a fair amount of reading. I've read a lot of stuff that Mr. McCarter sent out, and also been reading a lot of stuff outside of that. And I just think that the woke crowd has taken over.
Okay, others of you.
Okay, so I saw a story weeks ago on TV, on the news, local news. It said it's already a done deal. It's closing. They're giving tours for it just so you could see what used to be and what will not be again, and that they have everything else in place and that they're going to save money and have cleaner energy. So I'm just sort of a little confused in saving it. By us approving this resolution, can we save it? I mean, I'm a little confused. I've read stuff, but I don't know a lot about it, so.
It's a fair question. Justin's here tonight. He'd have a thought about that at the county level. Resolutions of this nature are inherently non-binding. They're an expression of our intent. And we are the largest public body in the county, so you don't ever diminish or underestimate the power of the voice of Georgetown. We don't speak often, but occasionally we do, right? But by the same token, it does not legally change what happens. It's merely giving our opinion, or if it were to pass a majority opinion of the township on the decision being made as it relates to that plant, if that helps answer your question.
Okay.
In other words, you know, would it trigger the perpetuation of this plant and so on?
Right.
It could potentially, I suppose, be a factor, but it of itself does not decide anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think adding to what Amy was saying, you know, in the way you introduced this topic, we are a community who doesn't often put forth this style of resolution. And thinking about what it means, I think just want to say for the record, I'm not sure I like the idea of our very first board meeting as a new group to put forth a resolution and to set a precedent that this is something that we plan to do in the future. I like the fact that we don't often put together resolutions because they simply lack teeth. It's giving an opinion where maybe an opinion wasn't asked of us to give. As far as I am concerned as well, the research that I have, and back when I took a tour of the Campbell plant in 2017 with representatives from consumers, with the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners, because the tour was, we are all set to close this plant. We already have our plans and processes in order, and this was prior to even increasing or speeding up that deadline of closing to 2025. So not only has this been in the works for a long time to already close by 2040, the plans have been in place. There's a lot of oversight, and you know, Gary knows my feelings on the Michigan Public Service Commission, but I do think that they have done some work here, you know, and as far as the research that I've been able to put together and my experience in knowing that they, you know, in 2017 I was already outlined all of the plans that they had for how they were planning on closing this plant. So I think would just like to articulate that the resolution itself uses a few statements that I'm not sure are entirely factually accurate. whereas transitioning away from coal without a clear, viable alternative, that sentence, I don't believe, it's not my opinion that that statement is factually correct, because they were legally obligated to provide a viable alternative. So there are viable alternatives documented through the state of Michigan with the Public Service Commission. So I don't know that I feel comfortable with a resolution that I'm not sure is entirely factual.
Are you saying we should table it?
I think if we want to table it to do more research, but I'm also, on that same token, I'm not sure that it's our place to take the time to become an expert on this. If Port Sheldon Township, if consumers, if the Michigan Public Service Commission and the state of Michigan has all agreed that there is a clear, viable alternative and that the research has been done, I don't know that my thoughts, feelings, or opinions on the matter are warranted in the situation.
Good comment.
Okay. Others of you?
This is symbolic. It doesn't carry any weight. We have a local resident that is incredibly passionate about this. He's asked us if we'll support this. When he came to the utilities meeting, tremendous amount of information. This is incredibly controversial, but we represent 55,000 people. If we have misgivings about this, even though we have no authority, we go on record for that. It does carry some weight as far as public opinion. I'm worried about it. You have China that is building one coal plant a week, and we get their pollution over here within a week's time. We're closing them. They're building. I'm worried we're not going to have enough energy. And what are the costs going to be for our children, for ourselves? This is strictly symbolic. But you have a local resident that feels incredibly concerned about this, passionately, and I'd like to support it.
Okay, thank you. Others?
I just want to say that I share a lot of Gary's same feelings about the reliability of solar and wind. I guess you've asked people in Texas a couple of winters ago how well solar worked for them. But like Amy has said, like Kelly has said, these wheels have been in motion for a long time. And I understand, John, your thought process and Jim as well, about taking a stance just maybe for what is right for the township, what is right for the community. And my question earlier, I guess, was what does Georgetown, by passing a non-binding resolution, what do we really accomplish? And I support the efforts of the group. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, wholeheartedly. I've heard about this quite some time ago. I've done a lot of reading about it since then, and I thought to myself, okay, how are they going to replace that energy? And I did read about a new plant in Covert, a new natural gas plant, which is much more reliable than wind or solar. The reopening of Palisades also is on the docket. But I still don't know, again, as Kelly mentioned, first meeting to all of a sudden put something out there that's not binding for the group. And even if we do pass a resolution, Consumers Energy already has their mind made up. We're not changing their mind. For me, it's tough to go out there and say, well, yeah, this is a good idea, we should support this resolution, when to me, it just doesn't do anything. It doesn't have teeth, as somebody said.
All right.
Yeah.
Gene, you don't have to speak, but if you wish.
No, I think I'm feeling the same way.
We're adjusting tonight, the mic, so.
I feel the same way as Kelly and stuff is. I've done a lot of research on it myself too, and like I said, it's a done deal. So passing this resolution, what is it really going to do? And I guess there's appeals to be made and all that kind of stuff, which is gonna take a whole bunch of time, and, I even read things about counties or anybody else taking over it, which I don't think is a great thing to do either. There is the gas plants that Kevin talked about, but doing some of my research too, they're also looking at maybe the big nuclear plant is going to come up and it'll help, but I think they're actually working on smaller substations of nuclear things that can be set around big cities or something like that, which are not near as bad as what we think they might be a clean energy. But yeah, and saying all that, I guess I'm not totally in favor of passing the resolution.
So I just can't see the thought process of this closing down and there not being a plan in place. You know, I would just flip the switch, turn it off, and then we'll figure it out behind that. My guess is if the plans are in place, you know, they have, as Kelly mentioned, we're bound to have that plan in place before the shutdown. And as much as they're going to get the jobs out there, that's one thing. You get the tax base for the township out there, that's another thing. But you also have, again, a lot of points being made about doing the right thing and being a voice for the little guy, right? You know, in the township being a bigger guy. I just think that, I guess I just don't see how Georgetown Township, how our group has any say in the matter when it comes to what, you know, consumers does.
Anyone else?
I still think that it's worth putting a resolution together. Even if the thing fails, at least we can say, see, we told you so, right? And people can say that we're thinking of doing this or we're going to do that. I don't know if you guys have tried to get, permits. Kelly does. And they say, we're going to put a gas plant over here, and they're going to go to the federal DEQ and the federal EGLE, and they're going to say, well, sure, we want you to do that. And that process is going to get dragged out 2 or 3 years by some regulatory commission. And they, you know, you guys remember who we have for governor too, by the way. She's pretty good at making promises, but doesn't always say how the things work. So I don't trust the Public Service Commission. I deal with them. They're not exactly the best regulatory agency in the state. I can't get gas and electric to half the houses I put up lately, so, and they run that too, by the way. So my opinion is that I think the resolution is worth passing. I think it sends a message, whether consumers listen to it or not. I think it sends a message. Electric utility is a big deal. I mean, you can say, well, maybe we won't do any good, but we represent the township of 55,000. If you're going to have brownouts, that's great in California and Texas where it doesn't get that cold, but we have this thing called winter here, and you have brownouts here, we're going to have issues. And I think that there's a short-sightedness on the respect to the Public Service Committee and our governor and state legislature right now, when they do not understand that. They'll have their power, guaranteed. But I'm not sure we're going to have ours. Like I said, if 2045, they've got things in place, and they can take that down, fine, I'm for it. No problem with that. I just don't see a plan. They can say we have a plan. I want to see a plan. I have plans here too, but if they're not on a piece of paper, it's not a plan.
What we're doing is non-binding.
Yeah, you're right. It isn't binding.
I agree with it.
Right.
We're giving our opinion.
Right.
What is the downside? That we're going to maybe set a precedent. I can't remember when we've done this in the past. I think maybe we had some resolutions celebrating some things that were happening. But this is going to dramatically affect all of our lives. And maybe it's sending a message saying, if we're feeling this way and the general public's feeling this way, what's been the communication process that we're not more comfortable with this? Whose fault is that? Maybe that needs to be improved. If they're going to just step right up and know we're going to be fine. I'm concerned about solar. I'm concerned about wind. I felt pretty good when I heard Elon Musk talk last week about he believes that nuclear can be incredibly safe, and that we should be dramatically going in that direction. And if that's what I heard from Consumers Power, that we're going this way, we're going, great. But I don't know what they're planning as just an average individual. And I don't think the general public does either. I'm very nervous about it. And as Gary said, we start having brownouts, we start having problems. What did we do about it? We expressed our concern. Now they know, communicate. You got 55,000 people here represented. The individuals that are involved, they're not comfortable. Well, fix that. Tell us what you're going to do. You hear nothing about nuclear. We're going to do something. Tell us.
I think that sentiment is very fair, John, but I don't believe that that's what's reflected in this resolution. That's almost exactly the issue that I take, is that the resolution language uses very matter-of-fact statements, such as, you know, the plant plays a crucial role in maintaining energy stability and affordability, but yet all the research that I've done says that coal is an uneconomical utility that is actually adding costs to customers because they're running at such an inefficient process. And they've actually, the Michigan-Indiana Utility Power has been taken to task by the state of Michigan for an unfair billing practice to its consumers. Consumers Energy is on record stating that it plans to save its customers $628 million. And so I think that's the exact issue, is that there's such matter-of-fact statements in here, but the sentiment that you just relayed is that we don't feel comfortable making a decision because we don't know enough. That might be a fair resolution, not the fact that we think that it's the wrong thing to do. If we want to make a resolution that says we just don't know enough about this, please communicate with us more, that's one thing, but to come out with a resolution that says we're inherently against something that we don't know enough about, I'm not comfortable putting my name to that.
I agree, because I don't know enough about it, especially after listening to the pros and the cons and everything else. I'm not an expert in that field. And yes, I've done research, and I've seen the news stories, and I've heard the national news that talked about a summit in Europe and how the power is all changing. But, you know, locally, I don't know. I'd like to save the plant, but I don't know enough about it. So it's hard. I would probably abstain if I had to vote. I don't know.
I need to vote.
Yeah. So unless we table it for the next meeting.
So does everyone felt like they had their say? I don't want to cut off debate unnecessarily early. I appreciate the healthy debate. I don't always have to have the last word either. So if I say something now, one of you can say something after, right? But I try to not do all the talking, right? It's a really complicated issue. I found that out when I first talked to Mr. McCarter, and have seen and read some of what he has sent, maybe to all of us. Certainly haven't been the recipient of some of that. Admire, like John said, his passion for the issue, and his heart for it, and so on. And it is a uphill fight. And I'm sure as he sits there and listens to us, he's thinking of things that he wished he could say, because when you're that deep into it, you realize that we're at the surface, right? One of the things he might say would have to do with the idea that it's a done deal or whatever. I think one of the things he was advancing and may continue to be advancing is the notion that perhaps the county could, consumers have made up their mind, but the county might be able to acquire it and so on. That seemed to be a tall order, to be quite honest. No one would know that better than he. And so I've done my research and homework like it sounds like many of you have as well. So I've talked to the Consumers Energy PR person at length. I've talked to the supervisor for the township where this is located. He supports its closure, which surprised me. It didn't surprise me that consumers, when I talked to them, that they were an advocate for this, and they made many points to me that some of you have touched on here, but at even a greater depth. So what it told me is this is a very complex issue, and the task before those who wish to change it is very great. And so I come down on the side of supporting the resolution, because I believe at the philosophical level, I confess I don't know to the depth that Mr. McCarter or some of these others would know, the ultimate status of it and where it could potentially go. I do believe from my investigation, as I said already, it's a major uphill fight. So, do I think this will necessarily turn the tide? I don't. But could it be a factor that at least is able to be, they could beat the drum a little bit about to say, well, we're not the only ones who feel this way, you know? I think it could. And at the philosophical level, I guess I adopt a fair amount of what Gary said. I think we are put at risk, and I wished, at the very least, I wished it could be somehow even yet still delayed. Somebody said if it were delayed longer, and they might agree, you know, it served its useful purpose. But I wish it could at the very least be delayed. But I hear your comments and respectfully agree that good counterpoints can be made. So, and you've made good ones. So it would seem to me that rather than try to rewrite this, I think what they would be most useful to them if it passed would be the language that's included, right? That's what they are hoping to utilize, so that something watered down and say, hey, we'd like to get more information, probably doesn't really help their cause. So
True.
Let's give it a vote unless more want to speak to it, and let's see where we stand. So this would be, I think, fairest to be a roll call vote. One of the things about, we do these so seldom, as I've been saying, these resolutions, but they tend to be on hot topics. Okay, COVID, I think, was the last one we did. And you're not going to get unanimity on that, on some of those subjects. And anytime there's a resolution passed, the person who voted against it goes, hey, I look stupid, and all my friends are going to say, or whatever, right? I didn't want to be part of that. They're going to think so by taking a voice vote, a resolution, right, by voice vote, anyone could look up the minutes and say, okay, so-and-so was for, so-and-so was against. And that way, it's clear. And that, for any of you that's important to you, we want to make sure you have that. But I support it. So I turn to the clerk.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr.
The motion is to approve the resolution.
Yes,
so,
yeah. To approve. So a vote in the affirmative is to approve the resolution as written. Mrs. Grassman.
I think I'm a no.
Mr. Belding.
Yes.
Mr. Schwalm.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
No.
Treasurer DeWitt.
No.
Supervisor Wieringa.
Yes.
Clerk is a no. That
Okay.
is 4 no's, 3 yeses.
Okay. And I speak for all of us, and I say this to any of you who are here tonight. I had no idea how anybody would vote tonight. We did not somehow rehearse or discuss these things. But it's good to know that people were thinking about it and debated it openly like this. So thank you for your thoughtful discussion. I said we will have votes from time to time that are not unanimous or even 6-1, and there's proof of it.
You can come to my house. I have a generator. Just the board, though. None of you people.
And only the one that voted yes.
Item 13.
I wrote your name down.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the engineering, bidding, and construction of a sidewalk, little sections along 36th Avenue there, as sent to us by the Utilities Committee. Is there a motion to approve that construction and engineering?
So move.
Support. And moved and supported. In contact with the new board, this has been an idea that's been kicking around for a number of months to utilities and otherwise. Deficit, thanks for coming. It is in line with a goal that this board, or the prior board, I should say, passed some number of years ago or recommended. That was connection and connectability within the township. And so our utilities committee has been working hard on looking for connection points where you get the most bang for your buck. We have tended to look for primary roads in missed spots within primary roads and the like, because one of the things we consistently hear as office holders and have in the past is we'd really like to be able to get places, walking, biking, etc. And every time we have someone killed on a bicycle, even if it was not going to be saved by the fact that we had a sidewalk because they weren't going to use it, or you still hear passionately from people, man, if we had sidewalks. So we look for opportunities, and the goal of the Utilities Committee had been to try to advance at least one per year to this board. So I think I speak for them in saying this is the outgrowth of a number of months of evaluating the potential for connectivity here in an economical way that would serve a lot of people. And I'll let those on utilities or anyone else who wishes to speak to that and why you think you're either for or against it. We already did the motion, right? Sorry? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's on the floor.
Excuse me, Jim. Could I add to that? My apologies, but we are looking for approval up to $235,000. Construction costs are about $205,000, but there could be some easement purchases involved. So,
that was the number I was thinking of earlier. It had to do with this. Yeah. Okay.
I have a couple of questions just to gain some history. I think that the exercise in finding those 3 properties instead of doing the longer route that was previously considered, given the new crosswalk that'll happen at Brewer, I think it's a great path, and I think that there was obviously a lot of work that went into finding the shortest and most economical bang for our buck. And maybe this was in a past meeting, I'm just a little confused why, one of those 3 properties is a brand new house. So what is the difference between a brand new house located along 36th and one within a subdivision? Why did they not have to construct their own sidewalk, as all of our other homeowners within Georgetown Township do when they build a new house in a subdivision? And then the same goes for the house that was built at 3616 Lenters. It's the unfortunate side effect of a corner lot. Why did they not construct along both of their technical frontages? So on their side, the front side along 36. So if those homeowners, and I don't know what the rules are, is there not a
property split? Sorry?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm wondering what the trigger is. So if it was a property split, but is there not a trigger for when the new home is constructed to build the sidewalk?
If it's a plat, you need sidewalks.
So that's the plat.
If it's not in a plat, doesn't need to have a sidewalk.
Okay, so that answers the question about...
Property split that piece, so it's not part of the plat.
That answers the question about the first property on 36, 73, 73, 36, but what about the corner lot on Lenters? Why did they never install sidewalk as a platted lot along the other frontage?
That I don't know.
A couple of thoughts. I don't know the history of the subdivision or its age, but I know that there was a point in time where that rule went into effect. Maybe it was after this, maybe it was before. Can't speak to that. I know
it's been in the place a long time. I wrote sidewalk letters to homeowners in 2000.
So you guess that the age of these is probably within the scope of that, you think? Okay. Then as Gary said, I'm not sure, but I will say, and this is just airing it out there real, right? Which is we have for a number of years as a board identified certain, as I alluded to before, sort of primary areas where the township has done the paving. So, for example, most recently, you might say along Cottonwood, areas along 44th or Rivertown there, along Kennewa, meeting up with Jamestown, and so on and so forth. There have been certain areas that were deemed by the board at that time, and it doesn't mean it binds the hands of this board, but it's been, you might say what you don't like necessarily, Kelly, is what's the hard and fast rule about that? It's not very precise.
Yeah.
It's been more by feel of, is this one that a whole lot of people would appreciate, right?
And I think that's where you know that I'm going is that I feel more comfortable if there's a definitive standard operating procedure as it relates to where we do sidewalks versus not, because it provides some guidance on our decision making. So that's just all I was alluding to, right, is I think sidewalks I'm a big fan of sidewalks, truly. I think they absolutely add a lot of value to pedestrian movement through a bedroom community where vehicle travel is our primary mode of getting around this community. I do think offering sidewalks for people walking and riding bikes, I use them all the time. I just want to make sure that the way that we're making decisions is that there is some sort of rationale to fall back on. So all I want to do is make sure that I understand, why 73, 36 didn't build their own sidewalk, and then also why that corner lot didn't build theirs along their frontage, technically, just because of our other procedures as it relates to platted lots of sidewalks. I just think that we need to maintain, as much fairness in our rationale as possible.
So at a theoretical level, and I think you already grasped this, we think of the inferior subdivision sidewalks as used by those subdivisions almost exclusively, and we view some of these more primary ones as being used by the general public. And we may or may not be always right about that, but that's been sort of the, you might say, loose rule, if you will. It's going to bother you too when it comes to things like sidewalks that are required to be installed that we give an exemption to from time to time because there's nowhere else to connect to, and we withhold, or I should say, hold the right to require them at a future date, right? And sort of try to keep track of that, right? That's going to bother that same notion. And maybe this will be the term that our utilities, which is where this would percolate, becomes very specific in that respect.
I don't think this is a hill I need to die on. I just wanted to understand the rationale a little bit. I think putting in a sidewalk there, the benefit significantly outweighs anything here. That area is such a cluster at school time, and if the ultimate purpose is to move families, children, young people safely to a bus stop, safely to the school, and to find the least amount of properties to do that, I think it's good work.
Good points. Others?
Just keep in mind the cost for that little bit of sidewalk.
It's a lot.
I mean, people come, we want to do sidewalks, like we have people come, you should do sidewalks in the entire township. I'm like, you know what that might cost? And I go, what do you think? I said, I'm thinking 40 million. And they're like, come on. I'm like, look what we're paying for this 3 lots, 235.
Okay, but almost a third of what it would have been.
Yeah, because if we'd have went from Linters to 36th Avenue, we were looking at around 700,000.
But it is important to know it's not just as simple as slapping down some concrete on, right outside the right of way. That in this area, and probably in future areas that will need sidewalks for safer movement, there is going to be challenging topography or driveways to restore. So I do think that this is something we need to pay attention to.
Wetlands. That's what kills you.
Yeah.
Just got to find 6 cattails, and all of a sudden you're spending lots of money.
But you want to keep our children safe too.
I know that.
It's all about, you can't put a price tag on, you want to keep the residents look to us to keep their kids safe, especially getting to and from school. And there's less bus drivers, so maybe more kids are going to be walking to school.
I will say this comment, Jim will bear with me. They made me put sidewalks on my street a few years ago. I believe my street is much more faster than it was before sidewalks. Because sidewalks have created a false sense of security. And so people drive. My neighbors say the same thing. People drive faster on my street now than before the sidewalks. I mean, it's pretty bad. So that's the other side of it.
Any other comments? Okay,
this is a direct route to the school, safer for the kids, cheaper than going the other way. It's a lot of money, but it's a win-win.
I think so too.
I think they're busing 850 kids across that street. And this will give them access across the road.
Okay.
Jim, do you need to amend the original motion to include the dollar amount?
Yeah, let's do that. Is there a motion to amend the original motion to add the specific dollar amount of up to $235,000?
So move.
Support. Okay, all in favor of the motion as amended, or the amendment to the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the amendment to the motion is passed. Now on the motion as amended, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. It passes. Item 14, committee appointments. I appreciate the latitude that you gave me to come up with suggestions, as well as the input that you gave me when I reached out to you. I hope that you all enjoy the committees or commissions that you will serve, some of which meet regularly and others of which meet only as needed or on an infrequent basis, all of which, though, have an important role. And we have done this in the past and I'll just say it here at this outset, if 2 years into this term, you just can't stand where you are, or there's somebody who is on another committee and said, I've been on this committee 6 years now and I'd trade with you, I'm totally open to that, right? So we have made switches like that. It doesn't mean like you're locked in for 4 years. We want people to enjoy what they're doing. There's a lot to learn on each committee, and it's kind of fun that way. So, but I don't know that this is something that I need you necessarily to approve as much as to know about it, and you've given input, and so these will be the committees appointed. Am I right to say that? Otherwise, I mean, if we want to make it official, we can move for that. You guys know? I don't recall.
I think we should make a motion that that the committees have been set. That way it's in the minutes and it's done correct.
All right, I agree.
And I'll make that motion. Yeah, we approve the committees as they're set.
Okay. Comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that is carried. Item 15, second public comment period. So anything you like, yes.
My name is Marcia Plaskin-Hurwitz. I live in Hudsonville, 5290 Southbrook Court. I wrote to everyone. I wanted this group to acknowledge the emails that I sent. That would help me. I sent email with a letter to everyone here. So I would appreciate an email back saying, yes, we have that. Would you like to verbally tell me that?
I will tell you we received, I think I speak for everyone.
Okay.
We received that today. Was that one today? Yeah.
Well, I sent it.
Okay.
You see that there was a typo.
All right. I don't want to take you 3 minutes, so go ahead.
Okay. Thanks. So the point of it is that I had a conflict with the senior center. This was a couple of years ago. I'm Jewish, by the way. I'm a fourth generation member of the Grand Rapids Jewish community. And when I was at the senior center, they had decorated with a Christian cross. I said, I don't approve of that, and I hope you'll take it down. There were other discussions as well. If they didn't take it down, I quit. I left. My experience of living in Ottawa County has been most inhospitable as a Jewish woman. Meanwhile, this is where I live, and I would like to think that somebody likes the Constitution enough to make it hospitable for me. So when I tried to rejoin the center more recently because I had met some other artists and I was going to participate in a painting group, I was told I had to speak with Justin Statt at your office here. He did not return phone calls, ignored emails. Then I received a letter from an attorney saying, we have a no trespass order against you. You may not join the center, and instead you have to come and have a hearing here as if you guys are a judicial body, which I'm pretty sure you're not. All right? You're not a judge, and this is not a court.
Continue.
Okay. So I think it violates my rights on a lot of levels that I would have to submit to such a process, be intimidated, frightened, feel unwelcome and unsafe where I live, etc. So that's the letter that I sent to you with my more thoughtful response back to the attorney, Crystal Morgan, saying, I don't think it's right that you even have set up this process. I also don't think it's right that this body is spending money on you to have you issue a no trespass order. I think there's a lot that's wrong with this process. Since I still have a few seconds, I'll also say I didn't like that you ended your prayer to Christ. I'm offended by that. So again, if you want to be inclusive, and if you want Jews like me to say amen, you'll have to pray differently. Okay, thank you.
Good. Anyone else? Yes. Yeah, you can speak a second time, yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I do want to thank the board for taking the vote. It's good to know what you feel. I do want to make a few points. Obviously, I need to do a lot better job in educating, I think, the public and you. First of all, it's the opinion of the grid operator, okay? Not my opinion. The grid operator who operates the region's grid that says we are on a very dangerous path. The grid operator. They say we're on a dangerous path. I really recommend you look at what MISO is saying as far as what we're doing by closing our fossil fuel plants. That's number one. Number two, the power of the local government and local people, I think we very much underestimate. Very much underestimate. The county has the ability to municipalize electric. That's how much power. A city has the power. has the power to municipalize electric. Consumers Energy does not, we can actually knock them out. I'm just saying the power we have. I'm not necessarily recommending things. I just think we very much underestimate what the power of local government is on electric. It's very powerful if we use it. Number three, the plan. The plan is not actually just to close coal plants. It's actually all fossil fuel plants. That's the plan. Look at what the UN recently decided. The MPSC is following the UN. The MPSC is already trying to close gas plants in the UP. When we close fossil fuel plants, that's coal and gas, we do not have reliable electric. I'm not saying that, MISO says it. Palisades, we can't count on the Palisades nuclear reactor. I could go into a lot of why that's the case. This would be the first time in U.S. history that a decommissioned nuclear power plant has ever been recommissioned. That is a huge order, hugely risky, hugely environmentally risky, huge costly, very questionable that will ever happen. Finally, the cost, I think cost is actually probably very lower down than the reliability, but I would like to show you evidence. Coal and gas, there's a reason why China and India are building coal and gas plants like crazy, and the reason is because it's cheaper. And I'll tell you, when the federal government can't keep subsidizing wind and solar like they have, they won't. I guarantee you Trump won't. And when those subsidies are gone, then you'll see more of the economics even more forcefully. But again, I need to do more education. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hello. Welcome, new board members. Pete Plowman, Georgetown, Precinct 13. On the coal plant, I mean, strictly speaking, when has state or federal government ever said something that actually came true? Like they're going to replace our power. And for us as local residents, wouldn't we want to control our own power? I mean, you already voted on it. You had an opportunity. And I think local government, especially of Georgetown size, does have influence. Yes, it's not going to, change everything, but you do it, the next group, the next township, the next city, it gives fuel to the fire of people who want to move forward with reliable energy, not just when the wind blows or when the sun shines. Because in Michigan, that does not work. And where does it work? I mean, who's replaced everything with wind and solar, whatever? Nobody. So we got to have all options open. The other thing, Ms. Kuiper, you're new clerk, and we had an audit here, and the audit didn't affect the election or anything, but there were 9 votes that weren't, I don't know, that didn't match up to how the voting went in 2 precincts. Maybe the policies and procedures and how we do our elections, maybe that's something you can look at and see that those policies and procedures are followed, so that reconciliation of those 9 votes in those 2 precincts that we did the audit, we can actually come back to the numbers that was put together by the Georgetown. So I hope that's something we can look into and actually be 100%. That's it. Welcome aboard. Let the games begin.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Dave Butler. Live at 728 Chancellor. I've been on Georgetown Fire for 37.5 years. Been at both Station 2 and Station 1. I'm currently on Station 1. I was hired back in June of '87 by Gene DeWitt, who was captain of the station at that time. I've served under 6 chiefs, Chief Tanis, Chief Mackus, Chief Howie, Chief Ling, Chief Hamming, and our current Chief Matt DeWitt, who's here tonight. If you look at our current and past officers, many of them come up through the tutelage and training of Captain DeWitt when he was captain down at Station 2. So he's a great addition to the board. He's used to mentoring people and listening to all sides. As a senior firefighter, and senior by years of service, not necessarily chronological age, but I'd like to thank the township board in the past, and most importantly is the new board for your future support of the fire department. The firefighters, we know that it matters that you guys support us. Georgetown Fire Department is one of the best equipped and best trained in the area because of your support in the Georgetown board. More than just money, it's knowing we have good officer staff and that you as a board have our backs as a department. Many of the board members have attended our trainings and stopped in. Mr. Blizzak stopped in. Justin's been around, a couple of the other members. We like to see you stop at the station or be at our training. You were there with your kids, I believe, and they probably had a hoot. So
yeah, you got in the way, but
yeah. So we like to see you there. The training, both medical and fire, is far greater than it's ever been. Gene can tell you that when we got on, it was 66 hours, and now it's better part of a year of training. So it's a huge commitment from the people that volunteer and to be on the department, and probably more so from their families. So they're at training for 2 or 3 or several months, and then they get home and get a fire call, and they're gone another night. So, and I want to take a minute here to talk about my years on the department, and I've seen morale be both high and low. I can test that on our current leadership, Chief Matt DeWitt and Chief Ryan Tibbetts, morale is very high. All the stations, as well as the station officers, as well as Chief DeWitt and Deputy Chief Tibbetts, are very approachable. I think things in the department are exceedingly well right now, and that everybody's doing well. So, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to hear.
Going once.
Sean Half, Precinct 15, Winifred. I just wanted to congratulate everybody on their elections and the new board. It was a pleasure to get to know all of you in some length and during the campaign season during the spring and summer. I hope as we move forward over the next 4 years that we continue to get fiscally conservative government and wise planning for the future of this township. Obviously, it's going to continue to be growing, and there's future plans that need to be made so we can continue to be prosperous and enjoy the low tax rate that we do here as well. Hopefully, as well, we can continue to avoid the drama that we see at the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners. I'm very confident we will not deal with that here, but it would be nice to continue to have civil disagreements and to take everybody's ideas and thoughts into consideration. And I wish you the best, and I'm sure I'll continue to see you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Remember, you got to squeeze 10 minutes into 3 here. All right. Okay.
Okay,
Who are you?
my name's McCloskey. I live on Baldwin Street, pretty close to 36th Avenue. Okay, the thing we're talking about, the power plant. You gotta realize that between nuclear, gas, and coal, different price of operating. I worked in a place that's not here, but over in Wisconsin, downtown Madison, at a power plant. Talked to an engineer while I was there running a crane. I'm a crane operator, retired from that. Guy told me to run 1 megawatt on coal cost $20. To run it on gas, it cost $80. So anything that you're going to change is going to cost all of us residents more money. Now, I don't even know if the Cordova power plant over in Illinois, that's on the Mississippi River, if it's still running that, but I worked on it back in '65. And it was a nuclear power plant. It was buried 125 feet in the ground. I don't know about Palisades or whatever that's doing, but if they get it going, it might help the cost to operate. But any way you do it, it's going to cost all of us more money.
Right. we'll close the second public comment period. Item 16, discussion and general information among the board. I'll lead off tonight just to remind everyone that the annual Township Christmas Luncheon is December the 12th. It's a Thursday, and I realize from the past, not everybody can make that. You're working, right? So, but if you've got that day open or that lunch hour open, feel free to stop in. We always have a good time. It's in the basement here below, and seems that Jeannie always has good games, or at least we act like they're good. I like them, but good prizes. And then the annual Christmas tree lighting is this next Tuesday, December 3, here, right outside here on the plaza. It's always a great event. They'll do the Christmas vendors and so on from about 4 to 8. And the lighting, remind me, is at 6:30 or 6:30? Okay, and there's usually, hopefully the choir lined up. We've got our very own John Schwam speaking this year, and we appreciate that. And I would say to the rest of you, if any of you ever want a speaking opportunity, whether it be at a tree lighting, whether it be at a Memorial Day service, etc., let me know that, because no one wants to, corral those opportunities. We want to share them with as many as want to give the address. Okay? So, but John, I appreciate it. I was not able to make it the first time. I'll miss my eighth child's final Christmas program over here at Jenison Fine Arts, and I've missed many of them with the townships. I'm not missing this one. So thank you for covering.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else?
Speaking of Christmas, yes, remember now, because the Thanksgiving luncheon was sold out at the senior center, they were full. So now is the time, John, to register for the December Christmas party luncheon at 11:30, December 12th. It's a Thursday. So mark your calendars.
And they will have the silver tones there.
Sign up with
music.
Pam.
Yeah.
And the silver tones.
Sign me up, Pam.
Oh, and I'm teaching a craft class tomorrow at the senior center as well. So you're all welcome to join.
I'm just sitting around. I'll be over there.
Okay, good. Put you to work.
All right. Anybody else?
Jim, I'm incredibly thankful for this group, that you are all willing to serve. Your background, as Jim had said, is so incredibly strong, but also your love for the township, your passion. Really appreciate it. The fact that you're willing to do this. And there'll be ups and downs, and all of you are professional, polished people. And Jim and I have had an opportunity to work with some of the best. Chad Tuttle, Rich Vanderclock, Carol Skolma.
I'll start using names. You're going to leave somebody out and everybody.
Dale Moore.
Yeah.
A lot, so I get them all. But anyway, awesome individuals. All of you are of that caliber. And so this is going to be exciting. And we're going to disagree on votes. And we disagreed with all of those people we mentioned, sometimes dramatically. But afterwards, we would laugh and smile and tell stories. And as Jim said, there would be humor, even though we strongly disagreed on certain issues. It takes an exceptional type person to be able to do that. Some, when there's a minor difference of opinion, it bothers them, and they have trouble shaking it. So I don't see that in any of you. I think this is going to be wonderful. And Jim also mentioned about, you won't believe how much you're going to learn. It is just incredible. And I thought it was radically different. And we are blessed. This is a lot like Mayberry. Wonderful people, incredibly hard workers, and it helped when we got Rob on board. Dan did an incredible job. But Rob, with his background, particularly in insurance, he was able to improve our insurance program for our employees, things like that. And with Justin's, we are blessed. And if we just can keep the ship going as people have done for decades here, and make sure that we're fiscally responsible, which I know all of you feel strongly that way. We're in great shape right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. I had the opportunity to go to an MTA meeting last Thursday for the newly elected treasurers. down in Kalamazoo. It was very enlightening. I learned a lot, and I'm glad there's a lot more to learn. But I appreciate the opportunity to do that. I'd just like to thank publicly my family for coming out and supporting me, and then I know it'll be a big support next 4 years, so it's always good to have a good family behind you. So.
Would they take a picture with us because we didn't bring our families? Can we claim them?
I borrow his family? Oh, okay.
No, that's it.
Is that it? Anybody?
I don't think I'll be wearing a suit every meeting, no.
Okay.
It's just to let you down a little bit.
Even if you don't, at least coordinate with Kevin ahead of time what to wear.
I'm gonna try to get, I think I got one of the same colors as John. Maybe we can come with him another time.
Okay. And I feel like we must end by apologizing to the photographer who's been waiting. I didn't think it was going to be this long. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.